afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome back to another episode of Cheeky Chip Chat, a monumental episode, Paul. We've got a lot of good things to cover. Two huge matches in European football happening just this past weekend, and of course, we're going to be reacting to it, kind of going into all of the underpinnings, all the drama, all of it. It's gonna be a packed show. So let's dive into things. But before we do, Paul, as always, how are you? How are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Rahul. How about yourself, man?
I could be better. Could be better.
Sure, I get that. Two managers on the hot seat. One of them gone already.
Not
the one I was expecting, but hey, such is life.
Not the one any of us were expecting, to be honest with you. But we move on. We continue to. I have no words. I don't know how one of them is gone and one of them isn't. I don't.
So, just for the viewers, we're gonna take it a little lighter on Rahul this week, since we already recapped a very terrible United performance against Leicester. We're not gonna have to recap a very terrible United performance against Liverpool.
We're gonna have to take it progressively easier on me every week, because we're going to be covering United again, because we're doing United Spurs, and then we're going to be covering United again because we're going to be doing the derby. So we're going to have to keep taking it easier on me at this point. I mean, we might even have to just not, like, we might just have to applaud them for making it to the stadium at some point, that's what it's going to come to at some point. I mean, anyway.
Well, hopefully Ollie's not at the wheel of the bus taking them to the stadium, up the M1 or down the M1. I don't know where they're going. It's also the only road highway in London I know, or in England I know. So
there's lots of M's.
There is.
I know the M4 is a big one. There's lots of M's.
Yeah.
You know what M is, right?
I don't. I mean, I could probably venture a guess if I thought about it for a second, but no.
I'm pretty sure it's motorway.
Yeah. See, I probably could have. Yeah. Totally, that makes sense. Yeah. And
showing
then for the other game we're covering.
We are the cheekiest football podcast on the other side of the Atlantic, evidently, clearly.
Yeah. We have eyes here. Not M's. Eyes. Interstates. And for everybody else, the other game we're going to be covering is El Clásico, obviously.
It's not a big game. I mean,
Or not a big game anymore.
So let's actually, you know what? That's a perfect segue.
Right? That's perfect. Yeah.
Perfect segue. Let's get into it. So El Clásico, obviously known for being perennial matchup between two of the greatest football players to ever play the game.
No, hold up. Don't do that to El Clásico. El Clásico was a big matchup before Messi and Ronaldo.
We're going to get there. Don't worry. I wrote that down. Don't worry. It's in my notes. I'm just saying for the last
fair
15 years, give or take a few years. So let's say 10 years. Let's give him 10 years. What, Ronaldo went there in 2009? So 09, and he left in
18.
Okay, so 10 years. Let's call it 10 years.
Perfect.
For 10 years, which is a substantial period of time, especially in the development of European football, popularity worldwide, the whole thing, Messi and Ronaldo were the headline players in this rivalry. Admittedly, a historic rivalry. Paul, you being a history teacher, you know this.
Yes.
They pertaining to the political tensions between Catalonia, the Spanish crown, all that whole implication. I mean, these teams have never liked each other. It's a historic rivalry, but in recent times, if we're being honest, a lot of that was amplified by the increased audience from people watching Messi and Ronaldo. And now it's the first time that neither of them are playing. I mean, we've been without Ronaldo for a few years now. Even Messi's gone, but you've got even more names gone, right, Paul?
Yeah, no, Sergio Ramos. Who else are we missing in the lineups? Obviously, none of the classic Xavis or the Iniestas. No Oh goodness. Oh, we're missing everyone now. No Suarez's, no Neymar's, no not Benzema's, Bale's, even though I think Bale
There's a
is
certain Frenchman who's not in it anymore. The greasy grease man.
I no, not even count it. Don't even count it. Don't even count his time at Barcelona. I waste of money, ruined Barcelona, back at Atletico. We're just gonna pretend
It's
it
like
never
the
happened.
ultimate sabotage operation to just sell him. Just like, yeah, go play there for like a year or two and come back and just go play there.
I don't consider it because Griezmann, in my opinion, has never had like an iconic Barcelona moment.
I don't know. I agree with you.
But you're right. I mean, these
Just
were the
pointing out.
names that, and even before Ronaldo. I mean, we're talking like Zidane versus Ronaldinho, Roberto Carlos on both teams. You know, it's like it's
Original
crazy.
Ronaldo on both teams,
Yes,
like
yes.
Luis Figo. Like, can the names go on and on? Oh my God, the guy who won Rivaldo, the guy who won the Ballon d'Or. Yeah,
Rivaldo. Yes.
Rivaldo. I mean, there's so many incredible names who have played in this fixture, and I mean, now when you look at it, I guess, I mean, I don't mean to disrespect any of these players because you're going to get, I mean, they have, it was a fun match to watch. Don't get me wrong, but just
Yeah.
when you go to the caliber of teams like Real Madrid, 3 times Champions League winners in a row, Barcelona winning trebles multiple times, you know, with with the likes of these established names. And then we're getting into Barcelona putting out a front 3 of Ansu Fati, Memphis Depay, and Serginho Dest.
Yeah. Don't hey, Serginho Dest. I'm with you. I'm with you. I think you know, these are not the lineups we're used to.
No.
Even in like obviously Busquets still in the midfield. Frankie De Jong has been in the midfield for a few years now. Um, I mean, when you think of those classic Barcelona teams, I mean, we got Busquets, PK, and Alaba from the leftover, right? And then when you think of the classic, you know, Real Madrid team from the past 10 years, we have their midfield leftover and Benzema, and that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. I
You
mean,
know,
because
so it's
and then let's go over some more of the new names. We've got Eric Garcia at Barcelona. He's not a new name at Barcelona, but a new name in the regular starting lineup. Mingueza, new name. Gavi, we talked about him in the what is that tournament called? The Nations League final, just a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I mean, like we said, new name Barcelona, the newest names all around, probably because they couldn't afford to
yeah.
keep a lot of
I
them.
mean, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. Specifically, you're looking at the Barcelona lineup. Serginho Dest playing in this more advanced position is actually very rare for this Barcelona lineup. He's
Yeah,
usually more of a fullback
of a fullback. Yeah.
playing either side, right? So it was good to see him involved with the attack, but he's not an out and out
Mhm.
attacker in
To
any
me, it
capacity.
showed. I mean, I don't think at least in the first half. I mean, yeah,
I mean, I personally I thought he had a great game, but not from his attacking
not as a,
quality in
yeah.
any
And when you're
capacity.
played as an attacker, it means
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
you're gonna struggle. But well, I mean, Real Madrid, like we said, they're maintaining more of the lineup that they've had for the last few years. Because I mean, I guess Barcelona it's more of a shock to losing such a name like that. And I mean,
Hmm.
Real Madrid have kind of been coping for a couple of years without him. So we're used to seeing your Vinicius Junior on the left wing, who's grown into a fantastic player. I mean, he is a menace. I mean, I wrote down here that Real Madrid have kind of got. I mean, even though he's not technically Real Madrid born and bred, he's kind of like their Marcus Rashford. Like he's quick. He's a nightmare. And when he gets, it's not if, when he gets past you, he's going to cause you major problems, and you constantly have to be worried about him.
Yeah, I think we have seen a serious growth in Vinicius Junior's ability since he came into Real Madrid. You know, he had that really rough start, if you remember. He was in and out of the lineup all the time. He couldn't get the ball. You know, he wasn't doing what we wanted him to do with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And now he seems like, I mean, he's one of the brightest sparks on this Real Madrid lineup.
Yeah.
And I think if I recall correctly, when they got Vinicius Jr., another big person they bought that year, it was kind of like it was these 2 young Brazilians. It was Junior and Rodrigo, right?
I don't know if they bought Rodrigo at the same time, but yeah.
And it's been a few years now, but now they're finally in this lineup. And I thought
Hmm.
Vinicius had the best game out of anyone in this game. I
I
mean,
agree.
he was my man of the match. Uh,
Yeah.
other than, I mean, Alaba had a great game too, but if he doesn't have that goal, I don't think I would even
No,
consider
but
man of the
and we'll
match.
we'll talk about the goal. It's more than just David Alaba in that in that goal. But I've been getting in the lineup. I mean, we've seen a lot of these names before. For Lamendi, played last season. Alaba, new signing. Eder Militao played last season.
Hmm.
Lucas Vasquez, maybe newer, playing in that right back role, but
Interesting.
mainstay in the Real Madrid team, kind of as a squad player.
Hmm.
Kroos, Casemiro, Modric, never heard of those guys. God forbid we've ever. It's part of that Champions League winning midfield that we were talking about, and then Benzema, mainstay. Vinicius Jr., established.
Hmm.
Rodrigo, I mean, he started to break into the team a little bit more last year, and then now he's fully in the team. So it's Real Madrid were in a position, in my opinion,
Yes.
if you just look at this on paper, Real Madrid were in a position to like comfortably win this game. Now,
Yes.
granted, both sides kind of having some lapses. We know Real Madrid had some lapses in the Champions League. Even domestically, they've been having, they're just kind
Yeah.
of getting
Both.
the
Yeah.
team to gel properly together. And Barcelona, people making jokes, all kinds of jokes. It's really sad, but everything said that this game could have been written off. Could
Yes.
have been written off.
Yes. And I'm glad it wasn't, because I actually think, even though results kind of point the other way, I thought Barca played very well. I'm sure we'll get into it, but I thought, in the second half specifically, I thought they were the more dominant team. Um, and they're trying to get back into it, obviously, so they're going to be a little bit more pressing. But
Hmm.
um, I thought overall Barcelona had the better chances in the game.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So both sides showed some sloppiness in possession. We're not going to see that kind of
Hmm.
cohesiveness in these teams kind of trying to get to know each other. I expect a little bit better from Real Madrid, to be honest with you. But both sides kind of trying to gel together still relatively early in the season. Um, but I agree with you to an extent. To an extent,
Okay.
Barcelona's
Interesting.
press was impressive. Not it was impressive.
Sure. 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 Sure.
Um,
Sure.
you could tell this was a Barcelona team, even despite not having some of the names. Just you could tell that it was like the club has not lost its ethos.
Hmm.
So that was evident. But to me, even though Barcelona had good possession, I felt like when Real Madrid were on the counterattack, it just felt like they were more dangerous, and maybe that's because I just trust Real Madrid's forwards more, and I think that might be it. I mean, granted, Memphis Depay, I remember, had a chance. He set up Serginho Dest for a missed an absolute sitter in the 24th minute. If he
Hmm.
pulled a
Yep.
Fernando Torres and skied it over the bar. But yeah, I mean, to me, it just felt like when Real Madrid broke, I was like, "Ooh, something's gonna happen. Ooh, something's gonna happen." And in the 31st minute, that's exactly what did happen. I mean, Vinicius Jr. was a nightmare for Mingueza the entire game. Um, and he just continually caused him problems. Mingueza kept getting caught further, and this is something that often happens with fullbacks. You want to provide support when the ball is on the other side of the pitch. The problem is Real Madrid's midfielders are so good. When you switch the play, you play that long pass in behind.
Hmm.
You you have to be able to cover. And granted, Minguez is fast. Like I didn't know. I've not really seen him play. So he's fast enough to make up for it. But Vinicius Jr. still had a lot of joy down that side, and that's what contributed to a lot of the danger that I was like, yeah, this is like, something could really happen here. And
Hmm.
lo and behold, that's exactly what happens in the 31st minute when David Alaba decides to maraud forward. Let's just say.
Yeah, I mean, he was the center point of that entire play. He gets that entire play started. It ends up in Rodrigo's feet. Alba makes that run forward. Rodrigo is very smart to pick out that pass versus the breaking Benzema in that position.
I
I
agree.
don't think, and left foot Alaba, he's going to put it on target first of all, And it's impressive to me. I mean, these are professional athletes, so I understand this, Rahul. But he's got to go all the way down the field and then compose himself as a striker almost to get that shot on target.
Yeah,
And I
it's
know
not
Alaba
easy.
obviously has that ability because he's phenomenal, but that's one of the things I saw that it was really like, ooh, interesting. That's great. I love that energy. Ter Stegen didn't really have a chance, just a rocket of a shot. And Real Madrid, to that point, I thought deserved that goal and were the better team. It was after that I thought Barca really started kind of controlling the game just a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more.
Fair
But
enough.
yeah, great goal. And
Also, I know we've given him a lot of credit so far, but I don't want to underplay Vinicius Jr.'s part in this move because Vinicius Jr. is the one who plays the crossfield ball to a running open Rodrigo, and it was pinpoint perfect. It was brilliant. I was like, this kid. Yeah, he's kid. This kid, he's fast, and he can play accurate long balls, and he'll torch you, and he can put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, like this is he's becoming a really complete player, and it's yeah, I love it. I think he's awesome.
I think it's the Ancelotti effect. I think Carlo Ancelotti has done a lot with Vinicius Jr. that you see him do. I mean, think about Calvert-Lewin, who wasn't like a top striker, and
and then played well
now,
for Everton. Yeah.
yeah, right. So I think Ancelotti has that effect that maybe Zidane or who was after Zidane. I can't even remember who was in between Zidane and Ancelotti just now.
Was there anybody in between Zidane and Ancelotti just now?
Yeah, there had to be. There had to be.
Okay.
Was there?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, to the point, I think Ancelotti has a lot to do with Vinicius Jr. playing the way he's playing at the moment because I think he hasn't had a lot of opportunity in previous years to kind of show what he's worth. And at the very beginning, it was like, oh, we paid 50 million for this Brazilian kid, and he almost didn't live up to expectations. Is what I was kind of it was kind of there.
Well, I mean, yeah,
For.
he came in after they got rid of Ronaldo, and they're like, I have to fill
Well,
this
right,
hole as
exactly.
like being this flair attacker, and you're like, well, how do you fill the shoes of, arguably the greatest player to ever play the game? And you're like, I don't know. How do you do that? So yeah, it's and I think it kind of gets into that thing about, and we'll talk a little bit about it later. The whole thing of you can come in and be a manager that plays with established players, but like you don't really develop talent. You just kind of know how to deploy it, versus a manager who also knows how to cultivate the ability of younger players, assist in, or not even younger players, just even like underperforming players, and just say like, hey, here's a part of your game we can work on, in order to fit them into their system. And I think those managers generally tend to be more beneficial when you have a situation where, like Real Madrid, they have lots of like young buys, because that's a popular thing to do now, instead of the the philosophy of like, oh, we'll buy the established players and see what we can do with them, which is probably more of a Mourinho-esque thing to do. But
very physical game, and I was glad that, I mean,
very physical.
Yeah, we didn't mention it, but there a penalty shout around the 20th minute. Right call for me. Obviously, I think Mingueza has to watch those arms he put on.
Yeah, that was
Vinicius
the
Jr.
only
there.
thing they were saying no penalty, and I was like, he did tug him a little bit, but he definitely bought it. Vinicius definitely bought it. So yeah, it's a little.
So very physical for the amount of cards that ended up in this game, which was not a lot. Very physical game, and I'm glad, because that's what you want from an El Clásico.
Yeah,
and that's kind of.
That's yeah. I actually wrote that down on my notes. Intensity and very cheeky challenges. Like players getting in each other's face. I know Jordi Alba likes to have a little bit of a jaw at players. Trying to keep the spirit of the rivalry alive, right? Because even though we talked a lot about Messi and Ronaldo, like we said, this rivalry, the roots of it are incredibly political and go back like hundreds of years. It's not going away anytime soon. the intensity of the rivalry is not going away anytime soon. There were great players who played in this rivalry before those two, and this rivalry was intense as heck before those two. I mean, when a pig's head was thrown at Luis Figo, Lionel Messi hadn't made his debut yet, I don't think. Had he?
No. I don't think
Or
so.
if he had, it was like very, very, very early on.
He was still probably wearing the number 30. That's how early on it was.
So like, you know, it's come on, like this is still a big game. So I'm glad we got to watch it. I mean, again, Barcelona, rest of the first half into the second half, really pressing for that next goal, really trying things, bringing on Coutinho, who I thought was a bright spark for them.
I do not understand why he's not consistently in this lineup.
Yeah. That didn't make a lot
maybe,
of sense.
and I think maybe he will be, because obviously now Robert Koeman is no longer
Ronald
Koeman. Ronald. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Ronald Koeman is obviously out of the job now after their loss to
Rayo Vallecano.
Vallecano. Rayo
Yeah.
Vallecano.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, so this was already after the game, but every time this season that Coutinho has come on for Barcelona, they have looked the better side. And same, actually, incidentally, with every time Aguero has been brought on, Barcelona has looked, more dangerous. Now, the Aguero stuff, I don't put at the feet of Koeman, because A, he was injured coming into this season, and B, he's still working his way into the squad.
Yeah.
So that I understand, but Phil Coutinho has been there.
He's been there for years, yeah.
Yeah. So, a lot of this, I have a lot of questions for the way that, Barcelona played, because like, I like their midfield, Gavi, Busquets, and De Jong, obviously. We mentioned their attack. I think their attack's not playing the right way, and it's not Serginho Dest that's at fault here. I think Ansu Fati is a player that's more akin to what Vinicius Jr. would be like.
Yeah.
So I think you need to play him off the wing. And I think Memphis Depay would be absolutely a more dangerous number 9, the way they were trying to play this past Sunday.
I agree. It's a system thing.
Yeah.
It's a system thing. When I say, like, Serginho Dest probably doesn't need to be in the lineup. I mean, not in an attacking capacity. You can put him in. You can put him in at fullback. Fine, I don't care. But you replace Serginho Dest with, maybe you're playing a Philippe Coutinho at, as like as a wide forward, right? Who likes to come inside.
Yeah,
that would work, and that's a much more dangerous lineup. And then you make a system that allows him to feed in, passes to Depay, who's physical forward. And you have Ansu Fati making runs in behind. That's a much more dangerous lineup. I just think it was a system problem, really. And I mean, that's why, despite having as much possession as they had, Real Madrid defense, let's be honest, not incredible, but good enough to do the job, and they kept them out. They literally kept them. I mean, they kept them out until the 96th minute. I mean, we can talk about Lucas Vazquez making it 2-0 in the 93rd minute, the garbage counterattack, because Barcelona had thrown everybody forward and there was nobody back to defend, right? We can talk about that, but I mean, do you want to talk about that?
Well, I only want to call out Gerard Piqué for flailing on the ground like a baby while Real Madrid was pressing this counterattack and then score. Like, I think if Piqué gets up in that position and gets back, Real Madrid don't score.
I honestly think they gave up they gave up on that goal. And
it's such a shame.
It is a shame, because they scored 2 minutes later.
And I think 1-1. I think a 1-1 draw is what this game deserved.
I wouldn't have been
on the face value of it.
Yeah. I mean, Aguero getting his first Barcelona goal in garbage time of El Clásico. Congratulations. A little too late. Yeah. That's El Clásico for you.
Yeah,
I mean, Real Madrid.
I mean, there wasn't much to talk about. I felt Barcelona was possessive and dominant for a lot of the second half. Some of the, later in the first half, I thought, while you mentioned Real Madrid's defense wasn't great, I thought what they did best was just make sure that shots didn't go on goal.
Yeah.
Barca got into plenty of attacking positions but never had a good shot on goal.
Exactly. And that's both credit to Real Madrid's defense and criticism of Barcelona's attacking system not getting the best out of those players. So look at it whichever way you want, but at the end of the day, Real Madrid have 2 goals, Barcelona only have 1. Let's do the ever interesting XG
hit me with
check. So let me just pull that up for you right now. In the meantime, why don't you tell me what you think the XG for each team was in this match?
Let me see. Shots.
I get it for you.
Barca. I'm looking at it right now. Barca probably 0.6, maybe. That might even be too high. And I think Real probably had like a 1.
All right. So you know how you said this game should have been a draw, and I agreed with you?
Mm-hmm.
Reflected in the XG stats.
Yeah.
Barcelona's XG, you have to remember, Serginho Dest missed a sitter.
That's right. Yeah.
And when I say a sitter, I mean even like probably I could have finished that. I mean, he's like you don't miss from there.
Right.
So that shot, it's in and of itself was a 0.43.
Okay.
So right there, and then obviously Aguero scored again, kind of a tap in. So they exceeded an XG of 1. Okay. Their XG was actually higher at 1.59. Real Madrid had an XG of 1.55. So just 0.04 differential in terms of quality of chances.
So it really was
interesting to look at that, to kind of, based on how each team fashioned their chances. Barcelona's chances, obviously coming from possession and trying to break Real Madrid down. Real Madrid's chances coming on the counterattack, but still not a ton between the quality of chances created by each one. Probably because Real Madrid created far fewer chances for the rest of the game. Probably what that is. But yeah, that's El Clásico.
Wow. That's awesome that, you and I talk about it and then the XG proves it. I love that.
We talk some sense. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's show.
No. But we will take it easy on Rahul. So Rahul, I just have a few questions from an outside perspective, and I'm not gonna try to go over.
See how many notes I wrote about this game? I don't want to use any of them.
I'm not gonna make you. That's the best part. I'm not gonna even make you. But I will say the one little sore spot about the game, and I tweeted it, was when they called Ronaldo's goal offsides, and it was just like, oh no.
It's like, I was like, at least
he's already dead.
I was like, at least he scored a bang, because it was a great goal. It was a great goal. He skinned 2 of them and bent it, and I was like, my man's back. And then they called it offside, and I was like, you can't even give us this one little morsel.
But we won't talk about it. So I have a couple questions, and I'm not going to try to repeat questions that we covered and your thoughts on last week, okay? Because you went in very in-depth on what needs to be fixed here, right? My first question to you is, how much onus is on the players?
It's tough. Right?
It is. That's why I wanted to give you the first question.
It's tough because on the one, it's hard. It's just like the question we were trying to answer just now, right? It's hard sometimes to distinguish what percentage or how much of it comes down to, like in the example of El Clásico. Let's go back for a second, right? So it's hard to distinguish what percentage is Real Madrid's defense versus what portion is Ronald Koeman's not getting the best out of his forwards based on the system that they're playing in, right?
Right.
Or the selection of the lineup or whatever. It's hard to distinguish for that, right? Similarly, it's hard for me to look at Liverpool counterattacking and us. I don't know if you remember. I've talked about it a couple of times on the show. I remember how I went for the derby like a few years ago, and there was one goal that I saw and I'll try and find a highlight and maybe tweet some pictures of it. But Bernardo Silva scored. So we lost 2-0 to City at Old Trafford. Bernardo Silva scored their second goal, and he's running in on goal, and literally he's running. If he's running up the pitch, he's going like this. And United's players are kind of like, if each of my fingers is a United defender, they're kind of like this.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't really work if your defenders are running alongside the attacker, right? You're never going to stop him, right? And there have been multiple instances where we're getting caught out of possession, and United's players are like, in a straight line vertically, and the attacker's running. And we're like, something about the system, something about positioning. I don't see this happening anywhere else. I don't. I see it happen to us consistently. And so when things like that happen, I'm like, it's a system problem. It's clearly a coaching and it's a system problem. It's a tactical issue. It's like, sure, you can blame the players for being out of position, but the system and the instructions that they were given put them in a spot where they got caught out of position. That's one argument. Hold on. Okay. There's another argument where you look at things like Cristiano Ronaldo gets frustrated, kicks the ball, attached to Curtis Jones's chest, right?
Yeah.
Naturally, Liverpool will get upset. Virgil van Dijk, granted, when I was watching this, and Virgil van Dijk went up and chested Ronaldo, I was like, go on, have it. Go on. I want to see this. I was like, let's see what happens. So Van Dijk chests him.
I don't think you do.
Bruno Fernandes. No. Because the reason why I wanted to see it is I know Bruno Fernandes is one feisty guy.
Oh yeah.
Bruno runs in, and I read a tweet. He just deleted Van Dijk. Van Dijk's gone. He's throw him in the recycle bin.
I think I saw the same tweet where it's like, where was Maguire?
Where's Maguire? This is what I'm saying. So I'm like, and at that point you start to wonder, like, I mean, and Maguire's not putting. I mean, Maguire admitted himself in an interview, my performances have not been great. And you look at some of these players. Wan-Bissaka getting caught out of position time and time again. Fred McTominay misplacing passes, and you're like, some of this is not. Some of it's not tactical. Some of it is just straight not performing. Some of it is players are not performing to their potential. And so sure, I can blame the players for that. I can say it's a mentality issue. I can say, you need to give more. I think you need to put in more work on the training pitch. But at the end of the day, it's the manager's job to get the best out of the 11 players he puts out on the pitch. So even if it's not a tactical thing and the players aren't performing, when the players start to not perform consistently, that stops being a player's issue, and you start to look. It's like you start to look at the manager and say, what is happening that you're not getting the best out of these players? Is it that you need to drop some of them? Is it that you need to work a different kind of drill and training? Is it that you need to sit them down in the office and say, listen, you need to get your act together? I'm obviously not in the training ground, so I can't tell you the answer.
Right.
But I'm saying, because these issues are consistently happening, even when I look at an issue where I'm like, okay, maybe the player's mentality or the player's execution is the problem, I can still point it back at the manager and say, why is this not fixed, or why has this not been addressed? Because it's still happening over and over and over and over and over again.
So, I mean, you picked out McTominay and Fred, right? And I guess they will bring us to Pogba here in a second. And I do have a question about Pogba not being in the lineup, and actually want to juxtapose it with Jurgen Klopp decision in this game. But, the constant criticism is that McTominay and Fred are not consistent enough. But have any other midfielders there been consistent enough for you in games? I mean, Nemanja Matic, Pogba hasn't even been consistent.
Here's the problem. We are trying to play a double pivot with rotations of 3 players who all say they're box-to-box midfielders. You ask Pogba what his best position is, box-to-box midfielder.
Well, and
you ask Scott McTominay, quoted in an interview, what his best position is, box-to-box midfielder. You ask Fred, from the most recent international break, what his best position is, box-to-box midfielder. How are you playing a double pivot with 3 box-to-box mids? It doesn't work. You do not have specialized defensive midfielders to sit in front of your defense. First of all, I don't know if we need them, but in games where you think you might need them, like a game against Liverpool, you're trying to fit square pegs in round holes. And when that happens, then it's like, okay, sure, Scott McTominay and Fred are not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why was a midfielder not brought in the summer? And then it comes down to, did Ollie prioritize a midfielder in the summer? And then it becomes a question of who's in charge. That's why it's like these questions start to run so deep. Right. And it's like, yeah, I can't solely blame Ollie that they didn't buy a midfielder in the summer, because that's not only his fault. All I can say is, given the players that he has right now, trying to play a formation simply because you think you should continue to play the same formation when you evidently don't have the players to play that formation is stupid. And what's happening is you're not getting the best out of a squad that, like I said, on paper is one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
And you're now sitting in 7th, level on points with Arsenal, whose manager was on the verge of being sacked at the beginning of the season, if I'm not mistaken, Paul.
We had 2 tough games.
Behind Spurs.
And Brentford has actually proven to be a lot better of a team than any of us thought for that first game, okay?
But I mean, you look at these things and you're like, behind, level on points with Arsenal, behind Spurs, who don't even have that great of a team and just appointed their manager this year. They're like miles off the top already, and we're like, huh? You're like, well, what is going on?
So, the reason I asked the question about who has the responsibility here is because we talked about right after the Chelsea Arsenal game. Do you remember we covered this game? And we talked about how we were getting rinsed by Reece James on that side, and why Xhaka or Tierney didn't make that adjustment in game, right? And the same kind of question falls upon your team, especially with Maguire, who's a captain, but not just the captain. He's also the leader of the defense.
Maguire 100% should never have been made captain of this team, and I don't know why he was. I will never understand it.
I mean, it's got to be Bruno to me, or Ronaldo, honestly.
I think Bruno should have been the captain, and then now it should be Ronaldo. But I mean, that's.
Anyway, so I'll move on to the next question. Okay, 2 lineup decisions: Ollie leaving Pogba out, Klopp leaving Mane out. Could have gone either way. It went Klopp's way, obviously. Okay. I don't know how much I can blame Ollie for the Pogba stuff. Well, I mean, leaving him, not playing him in the first place, that I can put on him. But after he puts Pogba in the game to get him back into the game, I mean, Pogba makes this stupid challenge.
Stupid challenge. And I'm not going to go into the whole it was intentional thing. I don't think it was. I just think it was boneheaded.
Yeah, reckless.
And it's at the point, I mean, with Pogba, I'm at the point, and that's why, like, sure, I can blame Ollie for not putting out a player who is exceptional quality. Perhaps tactically he thought Fred and McTominay, because, and this is another point I wanted to make. Fred and McTominay, and this is a point I've seen made on by other United fans, and I just want to make it as well because I 100% agree with it. Fred and McTominay were in the midfield last season in most of our big games when we won them and came second in the league, right? We came second last year.
Oh, I know.
This is Ollie's team from last year that came second, with the exception of, instead of playing Edison Cavani, we're playing Cristiano Ronaldo.
So
this is Ollie's team. Ollie lost 5-0 at home to Liverpool, playing his team that he has played with for an entire season.
Let's be very frank here. Ollie's not coming in second last year if Liverpool don't have the injury issue that they had last year.
Well, yeah. I mean, ifs, buts, and maybes,
Yeah, sure. But that's what I'm saying, right? Like, you're saying this is the team that he plays big teams against.
No, right.
Right?
But we beat Manchester City more than once last season, right? Like we beat big teams last season. We beat PSG with this team, right? Like we've beaten big teams with this team. But what I'm saying is, tactically something's gone wrong. Something has happened. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, it's not working for him, and I'm sorry. But it's not worked for us most of this season. Do you know when the last time that we kept a clean sheet in the Premier League at Old Trafford was?
Ooh, last season?
228 days ago.
Nice. Who is it against, out of curiosity?
I think
Do you know?
Against West Ham.
Who is that? West Ham?
Yeah, we kept a clean sheet against them. They didn't score. Oh, no, don't bring this David Moyes crap in here. No,
I won't. But actually, that does lead me into the perfect segue into my last question for you, because obviously, and I think we both agree. I know you definitely agree with this, but you'll be shocked to know that I also.
Hold on, before we get to the last question.
Okay, yeah.
Prayers up for Naby Keita, because you had a fantastic game and it was cut brutally short by a stupid challenge by a stupid midfielder who's leaving probably. So I mean,
that's another crazy. I wasn't even going to talk about that, but
yeah,
heart's not in it anymore from what I see. Last question, because I know you agree with this, and you'll be shocked to know that I agree with this. Ollie's probably got to go. Ollie's got to go. Okay. It's become to a point, I think, with the Mourinho thing, it just becomes a point where you just have to make some change.
It's untenable at this point.
Exactly.
The players, there's very credible outlets who are saying things like, Ollie's asking what went wrong tactically in the Liverpool game. And they said something like the answer in most of the players' heads was the man asking the question. And you're like, at that point, when the players have lost faith, right? The players lose faith, fans lose faith. You've played dire football all season. There's absolutely no excuse to be sitting in the place that you're sitting in with the squad that you're in. You don't come in 7th with this squad at this point in the season because the club didn't buy you one midfielder. That is a BS excuse.
So
plain and simple.
It's a double question. Okay. 1, who comes in next? And 2, how do you manage it to the point where Ollie is a club legend? How do you manage to get him out of the job with keeping him and not with keeping that legend status, because he deserves it from the player perspective?
There's a reason I'm wearing this shirt. It's a sharp shirt. I don't know if you can see. Badge. This is the 99 jersey. This is the shirt he was wearing when he scored that famous goal in stoppage time to win us the treble in 99.
Was that FA Cup?
No, Champions League.
Oh, Champions League. Okay.
Champions League. He is and always will be a club legend. I want to take nothing away from that, despite how I've criticized him last few weeks, last seasons. I love this man. It is hard. I saw like a compilation of like good moments with Ollie where he's standing there on the touchline celebrating, smiling, everything going great, and it makes me so sad because it's like I didn't want any of this to happen, but like at some point you have to say, I understand that it's painful, but this needs to happen. So take nothing away from his status as a player. And I want to remember that night in Paris. I want to remember Pep and Man City thinking they were going to smoke us multiple times and us going into the Etihad and kicking their butts. I don't want to remember Scott McTominay scoring a half-field volley. I want to remember some of these things. I want to remember going in and beating PSG in their stadium again. There are memorable results, memorable good. I want to remember Ronaldo's debut and Ollie celebrating on the sideline. There were plenty of fantastic moments, but moments don't win you titles. Moments don't carry a team to championships. Like, at some point, it has to be backed by tactics, coaching, even man management at this point. I don't know if he's got it. And so that's why he has to go. And that's what I was saying. Like, the board had a meeting on Monday after the game about whether or not Ollie should be sacked.
Yeah.
And again, I heard this on another fan channel, and I had said this before they said it, and I'm going to say it again. If you are having a meeting about whether the manager should be sacked, you probably need to sack him. Because if you didn't need to sack him, you probably wouldn't be questioning it. It's at the point where I'm now. I don't think that they had thought through what happened if Ollie didn't work out, because they were working on contracts for his staff, and they had already given him a new contract. And now that they're in this position, because remember what I said at the beginning of the season, surely there's no way that you can fail with this team. Well, now we're in a position where we're in danger of plummeting down further and further down the table as the weeks roll on, because we've got Spurs coming up this weekend, got City coming up next weekend. We might have Watford, and then we've got Chelsea coming up the weekend after that. It's like,
I think there's an international break in between somewhere there too.
Right, but my point is, like, there is the potential for us to plummet even further down the table, and we're already in 7th with this squad. And so at some point, we just gotta rip the Band-Aid off, call it a day, and we gotta move.
So where do you go? Who do you bring in? Obviously, Conte has been put out there. I've heard Zidane. I don't know how I feel about Zidane.
So
So real quick, there are very few, and I could probably count on like one hand, like I think it's only 3, like just managers that are they are the best managers in the world right now. It is Tuchel, Pep, and Klopp, right?
Yeah, probably.
Outside of that, I don't see any like proven, other than Conte. Like, and do you want Conte?
No,
That's right. I wouldn't either if I were you. Because that's Mourinho again.
It's not that he's Mourinho. Like, I would stray away. There are similarities to Mourinho, sure, right? I would stray away from those comparisons, because Conte, for the most part, hasn't left his jobs because he was, like, fired because his team was bad. Conte left because he couldn't get along with the owners. Conte's not going to get along with the Glazers. It's just not going to happen. He's going to leave because his team has lack of investment. Yeah, well, there was a summer where we bought Fred, and that was it. So, like, if you want to leave after that, cool. Like, what position we came in the league before we bought Fred? Second.
I mean, you can't say the Glazers haven't been backing you guys.
No. Again, and I said that last week, but I'm saying
you did. Yes. Yeah,
there have been summers.
Yes, sure.
Where there was a lack of investment, for sure, 100%. And so that's what I'm saying. If something like that happens, sets Conte off, he leaves. Where do you go from there? And the problem is, his system is so specialized that, like, okay, we're playing 3 at the back, and then we're going to have midfielders, and then we're going to play, depending on whether we're going to play 2 wide forwards or 3 wide. If he's playing his 3-5-2 that he played at Inter, we're going to struggle because we've got a bunch of wide forwards, like some Anthony Martial, Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford. Don't know how that's going to work out. In terms of playing with a great defensive midfielder, don't know how that's going to work out because we don't have a defensive midfielder other than Nemanja Matic, who can't play the whole game. So I struggle to see how Conte is a good fit for our squad, and how, like, it's not just like, oh, he needs this piece in the summer and we'll be good. It's like, because the squad hasn't been built for that kind of thing. So, and I don't know if he'd last long enough to build the squad that he'd need to succeed. That's kind of the problem. So that's why I don't want Antonio Conte.
What I have seen is that when people have brought up his name, that he has stated that he can do a lot with your current squad. Like, he would not be coming in with the expectation that he would need more necessarily, other than maybe this.
I'll tell you, with any manager who really knows what they're doing, because, like, and I had this conversation with somebody like a few years ago, and they were like, why will Ollie succeed? And I was like, because I believe he will. That's all I had. That's all you have is belief, right? That he will succeed.
Right.
But with these guys, like, when you have a proven record of success, you have a formula that works, You have like, okay, with this kind of player, we tend to kind of do this thing, and I'm going to make sure that I make your players better. Yeah, sure. We have an amazing squad. So sure, you're going to think you can come in and do better. I don't doubt that he said that. I don't doubt that a lot of the people who are being touted for the United job would say that.
So who do you go with? And don't you dare say Zidane. I will. We're gonna have some issues, Rahul, if
No,
you
no,
say
no, no,
Zidane.
no, no. See the thing with Zidane, right, is like I struggle with how much he did
Yeah, exactly. Yes, Rahul.
versus like how
Yes.
much. And granted, we would benefit a lot from him bringing in his staff and them training our players. I'm not saying that wouldn't be the case, but it's just like I feel that his success was like a perfect moment, perfect
Yes.
fit
Yes.
kind of thing, not like a oh, he can replicate it anywhere kind of deal. And so that's why I struggle with Zidane, even though I rate him as a man, as like, as for his accomplishments, as what he's done as a manager. You can't deny what he's done. I mean, he came back with a different, like, he came back after taking a break and they won La Liga. So, I mean, you can't deny that, like, he's won stuff. It's just, I don't know how replicable it is. Especially with our squad. So, the only other name I've heard is Eric Ten Hag from Ajax. Ajax play a 4-3-3. I think our squad's pretty great for a 4-3-3. The Ajax develop youth. We have great academy system. Great record of playing youth players. Youth player in the squad like every single game since like the 1930s or something like that. It might even go further back than that. So I mean, personally, I'd be looking at someone more like that, and that's more of like a long-term fix. Than an Antonio Conte or a Zidane. But the problem is, you can't take Eric Ten Hag out of Ajax right now. I don't think they'll be able to. So, where do you go?
That's the thing, right? That's what I was wondering.
I don't. I mean, that's the only reason I don't think he's been fired yet. To be quite honest with you, I think that is the only reason.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the only reason he hasn't been fired yet. But they might have to fire him if we continue to drop points, because they might have to do something to stop the bleeding and actually bring in an interim manager who is only an interim manager and just tell them, look, you are not getting the job. Roberto Di Matteo, my favorite example, Roberto Di Matteo did not stay on at Chelsea for a ton of time after winning the Champions League. My favorite example. I'm like, just because you do well as a caretaker manager, especially now that I've seen it at my own club, absolutely not. Just because you do well as a caretaker manager, we're still sticking with the plan. That has to be the mentality.
I've seen Brendan Rodgers thrown out there.
No, I can't. I just can't. Because he's.
Fair. I mean, I wouldn't do it either, but
ex Chelsea's one thing, ex Liverpool's another thing. I mean, it really like.
You can't be like, the managers move around so much nowadays.
No. But it's like a. No, I can't.
I wouldn't do it. I was just curious. There's another name that I've seen thrown out. Steve Bruce is available, and Ronald Koeman is available. That's all I got for you, Rahul. I won't.
Well, on the bright side, I can pretty confidently say Barcelona will not be digging into our managerial targets, should we have any. Hopefully, we do.
They already signed Xavi.
Yeah, because
that was like a done deal.
They're still negotiating with his team, because his team are like, oh yeah, he's staying. I'm like, yeah, okay, he's gonna stay at Al Sadd for 2 years and see out his contract. Okay, sure. And we're gonna sign Messi next summer. Like, there's lots of things that I can say that are not gonna happen.
I think that's also it's the same Ollie path that Barca's taking.
Yeah, well, like I said it. We were talking. I said it's kind of the Pirlo thing that Juve did, and I'm like that. Really,
But another thing, and obviously I don't think United is the right club, but like I said, I can only count. I think we're currently in a transitional period where a lot of the old greats are no longer greats, and we need to have the Nagelsmanns and the Tuchels and like. we need more of those, you know. So we'll see.
I mean,
That's all I
the
got
next
for you.
generation has to come from somewhere. So
Exactly, and obviously, I don't think they need to like Ollie would be in that next generation. Obviously, I don't think Ollie needs to like learn at United, but I mean, we got to get these people somewhere, and if there's going to be some kind of drop from somewhere, you know,
yeah.
I could see it being this like next way, like because Mourinho, once great, losing 6-0 to some random team in the Europe.
Did you see
Conference
him? He
League,
got
whatever it
sent
is.
off. Man got sent off and was climbing over the wall, making hand gestures, trying to signal his team as to what he wanted them to do. It was
I love it.
that man loves the game so much. I just can't.
I love it. Anyway, that's all I got for you, Rahul.
Yeah.
Let us know what you all think in the comments for who the next United manager should be if Ollie gets the sack, which hopefully you beat Spurs, but we'll see.
I want us to beat Spurs. I just think he needs to go. So, yeah.
I think Nuno's a better manager. You can get Nuno, Espirito Santo.
Wow. All right. Yeah. That's it. Wow. Okay. Anyway,
You
Paul,
think that too, though, right? Nuno's a better manager than Ollie.
Paul, why don't you let us? Why don't you let everybody know?
Okay. Follow us at Cheeky Chip Chat on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook, just Cheeky Chip Chat. Follow me at Cheeky Borscht on Twitter. Follow Rahul at the Rahuligan on Twitter. Go check out our website at cheekychipchat.com. Subscribe to this. Hit the bell so you know when we're live.
And drop a like on the video.
Oh, and drop a like on the video. Yeah.
Smash that like. Oops. About that hard. Smash that like button.
Bah! There you go.
That's why I can't be trusted. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you, Paul. And thank you all for tuning in for an action-packed episode of Cheeky Chip Chat. The
Cheeky
action
Friday.
Cheeky Friday. Cheeky. It's like I would wear an Arsenal kit and you'd wear a United kit. We call it Cheeky Friday.
I almost put a Real kit behind me and a Barca kit behind me just to mess with your mind a little bit, but I decided against it.
Wow. Anyway, we will be back next week with coverage of United, Spurs, and whatever other cheeky news happens. So stay tuned for that.
Rahul's hoping, everyone. Rahul's hoping there's news we can cover next week.
I'm praying. We gotta talk about something because we can't continue talking about how bad my team is. Anyway, we will be back next week. Until then, we hope that you chips will keep